Welcome back. Today is a day for limiting beliefs. Today is a day for peeling the onion. Today is that day when we speak about things that are uncomfortable, but sometimes we need to feel that to kind of move. I believe that comfort zones and our dreams have never been on the same block. And so today is one of those days where I bring on an expert that kind of gets into those areas where you may feel like, that's so uncomfortable. But we need that to move, to shift, to get the things that we're out. My expert today is Amber. And Amber is majorly someone who is from the school of hard knocks. What that means is you feel like you've gone through the lion's mouth, you've experienced a lot of struggles in your life, and you feel like you didn't die. Somehow you ended up alive. You went through hell, and now you feel like you're still alive. And if there's anything you can share from that, from the tears, from the frustrations, from what you went through that didn't kill you, you'd be happy to save another person. So that's Amber for you. Simply
Mhm.
sharing what she has experienced along the journey of her life, the twists, the turns, and everything in between, authentically, so that someone else doesn't have to go through the same. And I am excited to bring her on because when I said, "You're my expert today," she was like, "I'm just a human being sharing my life." She doesn't want to be put on a stick as the expert. She's just sharing her life one day at a time. If she can hold your hand, amazing. If she can inspire you, amazing. I just love where she is. She's like, I am not the guru. I am just someone who is really sharing my sweat, my tears, and everything in between. And if that drops on someone and lifts them up, then I have fulfilled my mission. So, Amber, welcome to the World's Best Kept Secret. I am super excited that you made it.
Thank you for having me. And that was a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
Sure. I would love to dive into the work you do really like before we even get into your amazing story, which I think people would love. Could you help me understand how you help today?
So, as you said clearly, I just feel like I have been through my own experiences. And now my hope and my goal is as I share and show up each day on social media, that I can inspire through my own authenticity, showing vulnerability, my own journey in weight loss, emotional hardships. I feel like I just share it all. And whoever resonates with, um, it helps them. And I get messages, daily that thank you for this, thank you for that. So I just feel like when we share our vulnerability, people feel like they're not alone and they get more comfortable to open up themselves.
I like the space that Amber is out because we can very quickly get lost in I have to be the expert and I have to be the guru. No, you don't. You just have to be a human being who is one step or 10 steps ahead of another human being. And I feel like
Mhm.
Amber is the example of that. Being in a place where you're like, I may not be at the top of the mountain, but I am 10 steps ahead. And if you would like a hand, I'm here. Let's go. When I was talking to Amber before, what she got me to understand is that there is people struggling in life externally, but really the reason they are struggling is something that is not even something they think they're struggling with. She has work around mind, body, and soul. So she works with the body, which is the physical manifestation of the problem. She works with the mind, which is what is happening in your mind that has got you to that state. So think about trauma, think about patterns, limiting beliefs, think about conditioning. It's part of her work. But she also it puts guilt in everything because in the end, we are all a vessel and we have a spirit. And that relationship between you and your soul is so important in what can happen for you. And so I love that she has a radical view of things like weight loss. I want to single out weight loss in everything she does because I think that's very visible for all of us. You can be like having a weight problem all your life. You can go take a pill or go take some classes. Sometimes you drop the weight, but then you wake up 3 months later and it's back. And you're like, why can't I keep the weight off? Or you pay for gyms and you pay for services and year after year after year, you just can't seem to lose the weight. And you decide it's in the genes. You decide, no, I just can't lose the weight. Because look around my family, everybody's overweight. And she's kind of here to challenge that because there's always a root cause. And once that root cause is challenged and reversed, your results can be dramatically different. And so I really want to dive into her work because I feel like it challenges how we look at the physical manifestation of what we talk about. What if there was something more than the traditional way of I have weight problems, so I'm going to go swallow a pill? What if there was more to I feel like I'm overeating and I don't know, maybe the solution is to go and buy some tabs which suppress my appetite? What if there was more to the behavior that you're showing today that wasn't visible to you? This is why I have come to. But would you love to dive into your story? Because I feel like it's a very big piece of your work. And I would love for the listener to tag along and see what you've been through, if that's okay.
Of course. So it's really just been a story unfolding for my entire life, not one specific event. Just growing up, same thing, living by limited beliefs or conditioning of what we should be. And instead of listening to our own internal, calling and intuition. So spending many years, away from myself to come to a point when I had been checking things off my list, get married, have children, get a house, all the things that society tells us is going to make us happy. You do all those things. And then at the end of the day, I was still feeling a void inside. And no amount of external validation or achievements was filling that. So my weight was skyrocketing. I was using food to cope with that void. And then there came a point when I had almost lost my light completely that I had to say there has to be more than this. And I just realized that I was, living in the victim mindset, and that if I wanted to change my life, it was going to come with me and me alone, that no one was coming to save us. So the journey began after that. And I went to the gym and I began to use food, for fuel and not to feed emotions. And with that, I had to realize that I had to feel those emotions. So it was going to be uncomfortable. But, emotions pass. You have to hold space for them. And, if you're willing to not give in to the temptation to numb them with the food, it will pass. And you just have to keep showing up in that. So it's really ever since that turning point, it's been the journey upward and onward. And now, in the last year, feeling called to share it with all of you because we're really, truly all in it together. And when one person shares, people don't feel alone. I feel it's that separation and feeling alone, which makes us feel shameful. And then we stay stuck in those patterns longer than we have to.
I wonder do you remember like the specific moments where you were like, you know what, like I am done, I am changing my life today. I decide I am going to take radical accountability for this and I'm turning my life around. Do you remember if there is a moment like that you'd like to share?
Like I said, it's really unfolded over my entire life, but most specifically when the pandemic hit and we were all stuck in the isolation, there was nothing to do. You had no choice but to be alone with yourself most often. I was, having glasses of wine. I was drinking wine each day, using that. I was ordering out food. So those are my two outlets and my two sources of entertainment at the time. And alone with my 3 kids, homeschooling them. It was really, I couldn't have taken on more if I tried. And I think everyone could relate to that time. And it was coming to the point where I would rather spend my days in bed sometimes because there was no more hope and no more drive. I was overwhelmed. So around that time, I don't have a specific date, but around the pandemic, I said, no more. I'm going to make my life count. We have one life to live. Time's ticking, and I'm taking my life back.
I don't know what the moments will be. I hope it will be this interview that you watch and go, okay, it's time. It's interesting that you said COVID because there was a guest, I can't remember who was on the show, and he said there was a research made, and people had the choice to either be electrified for 5 seconds or left alone for 30 minutes. And people first chose the 30 minutes. But like 10 minutes in, so they would place you there, no phone, no nothing, and they would say, okay, you're either going to sit by yourself for 30 minutes, or we're going to just electrify you for 5 seconds, and that's it. And so people chose the 30 minutes. But 10 minutes in, they started changing the line and they said, just electrify me. Like, I can't go through 30 minutes by myself.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah. COVID had a way of bringing that to life. Because now there's no school. Now there's no going to the supermarket. Now there's no, you're stuck in the house with your spouse, your children, or with yourself sometimes. And you're like, this sucks, you know? It was a mirror for most people, you know? It was
It
a mirror
was.
for most people. I'm happy that you went there because I think if we look on the inside, sometimes it's just even harder to be by ourselves. When we were talking before we got on here, you said I was avoiding discomfort all of my life. I avoided all of the things that were uncomfortable. And at one point, I just knew I had to be uncomfortable. I had to face it if I was to change my life. Would you like to speak to that piece? Because I felt I related to that so much.
So I just feel, like you said, it's hard to be alone because then you're faced with your thoughts and you can't run from them. And I realized that as I've undergone some shadow work and facing my own shadow, I realized first I had run from it. And then when I thought things were going smoothly, when I became a mother and got married, I realized now that I was actually suppressing the shadow and living like in a false shadow.
Mm.
Um, so, sorry, I'm stuck here. Can you repeat the actual question? I don't want to get lost in the whole story.
The
So
actual
what
question
specific?
is I would like you to speak to the piece where you avoided the discomfort all your life and realized
Mhm,
it's the thing you needed to face to change your life. I would like you to speak
mhm.
to that piece because I feel like there's a lot of people in this world who avoid discomfort. They avoid the
Right.
uncomfortable conversations. They avoid anything that is uncomfortable, yet they desire something in their life that has to go through those things.
Exactly. So I think it's because the fact I was living through expectations that I didn't decide that I thought I had to live up to, or the conditioning of we have to do this, we have to do that. I didn't have much strong sense of self. So I was just going through the motions.
Mm.
And then in doing that, I was traveling further away from my own truth, which was becoming more painful. I was feeling uninspired, and if I wasn't running from those emotions, then they were too much because I wasn't living in alignment with my authenticity. So if I felt like a stranger to myself, if that makes sense, it was very lonely. Um, so that's why I ran from it, because I was just living inauthentically. So in order to get to the other side of that would basically mean overhauling an entire path that I had taken. So
Mm.
traveling one way so far from where I needed to be, you have to be willing to walk backwards, and that's hard to accept. You know
Mm.
what I mean?
Did you consciously know that you were living authentically or out of alignment? Because I see people today who believe they are being authentic, but in my
Mhm.
eyes, I kind of have this gut to go, really? Like, I don't feel it. Wait, I think it's my block. But I see people today and I go, I don't know that I believe what this person is saying. But I wonder if they know that that's how it's coming off for another. So did you consciously
Right.
know that you were out of alignment, or did you just was it just I didn't know what I didn't know and maybe I was just moving. I wonder what that was for you.
I feel like my soul, at a deeper level, I knew because it didn't feel good. It was lonely, like a very lonely existence. But superficially, it looked like I had, say, a life that most people would want, superficially to the ego. So I didn't know, but I knew, if that makes sense. How can I explain it? So I feel like I thought that being kind, empathetic, and all these niceties on the surface was making me authentic. but I wasn't going to the depth and owning it. So I basically wasn't allowing the light and the dark to, have like, what's the word? Like the polarity. I was just living from, if I'm nice enough, if I'm kind enough, I confused that for authenticity, being a nice person. But now I understand that when you say no, and when those hard moments where you stand up for yourself and you say no in honor of your boundaries, that is where authenticity is bred. So I don't think I knew I wasn't fully embracing my authentic truth at the time, which now I'm completely aware that being authentic is going to be uncomfortable.
So let me recap for you where we are, and I want you to tell me which of that is a little bit off, and you can bring us back. What I hear you say is traditionally you grew up knowing what to know. Success is things and wealth and money and family and all of those things. And so you went the traditional path. House, check. Husband, check. Kids, check. Money, check. So on the outside, in the world, you look successful. And everybody would trade their life to be where you are. But then it's like you didn't feel the same. You want to speak to that kiss where everyone sees you driving the car, having the kids, going to private school, but you don't feel the same maybe in the middle of the night or when you're in the shower, or you just don't, or when you're in the mirror. You want to speak to that piece? Because I feel like there's a lot of people who look successful on the outside, but internally it's a battle. Do you want to speak to that piece? Because there may be some
Yes.
who's there at this point.
So I think the aha moment came, like I said, I had achieved, let's say, the all-American dream. Let's say I could have hidden that forever if it was just about an audience. It looked great. But then I realized that's just it. This life is dependent on an audience. So this life looks great when you're sharing it on social media. If I have an audience to validate it. But when you're alone, and the house is quiet, does it really matter what type of car you're driving? Like, does that matter? If there's no audience at the end of the day, does that car mean the same thing? And I realized, no, like, I believe in abundance and you're deserving of wonderful things, but you have to ask yourself, is it to please the audience or is it because you want to experience it? And I just felt like in that role, you're constantly needing a competitor to gauge your worth, and I'm not interested in that. I wasn't interested in that. I wanted to feel passionate and inspired, just me and myself. So that's where I realized that although I still love to live a life of abundance that we're all deserving of, has to be more than that. You have to be fulfilled inside first.
Yeah. You feel like you have all of the things, but on the inside you feel like there's a void. That's what Amber says. And you might be feeling that void with acts of charity, with being kind, with food, with wine, with shopping, with holidays. God knows what you're doing with the money and everything you have. But she's saying in the end, she still feels a void. I want to jump into the conversation where you said it's not what you see on the surface. It is not. The problem is deeper than what you see on the surface. I want to take the weight loss example, and I want us to help us understand how you see weight, how to keep it, how to lose it. Just give us an example with yourself and your journey, how you've come to understand the feelings, the emotions, the weight, the pounds, and everything in between in relation to your philosophy, which is the mind, the body, and the soul work together for the better good of what your divinity or your essence.
So basically at that turning point around COVID, my weight, I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say it skyrocketed upwards 30 extra pounds over 2 years perhaps. And to some people that might be normal and feel authentic to them, but to my true state, that was very unhealthy. And I had to ask myself, once I decided to change my identity, to shift, every time before I ate food, I had to say, why am I eating? Am I actually hungry? It was a complete overhaul because I didn't even know when I was hungry. I didn't know why I was eating. It was just habit. It was from boredom. I didn't know when to stop. If I would be at a restaurant, say a buffet, there was no turning it off. It was how much can I get because it was for pleasure. So you're never full when you're eating for pleasure.
Mm.
And then I also realized that my entire life was based around food. So a lifestyle of, Netflix and chill that I loved so much no longer was supported when you're not using food as a partner in that, at least for me.
Mm.
I needed my snacks to enjoy that experience. So I had to be willing to reframe the entire lifestyle. So when I felt the urge to, I want to sit here and eat, I had to change the activity to, I need to get outside. Why am I feeling empty? What am I longing for? So it's really all these questions when that urge comes up that you have to ask yourself because so much deeper than just putting the food in our mouth.
So what you're saying, the weight is not the food and it's not. Take me to the point where you think weight means conditioning or means trauma. How does that? Because traditionally, what we know is that what you eat is what you look like. And so, personally, for the longest time, I believed that food equals weight. But you seem to have a different philosophy around how you look, what you eat, where is that all coming from, and how do we lose weight and keep it off, for example. Take me there,
Right.
educate me around how your truth around weight and how to manage it, how to keep it off, and all of these things. So I felt like that was really good how you look at it.
So I just feel we're all born whole, we're divine, we're
Mm.
supposed to thrive, our bodies are sacred, it's our vessel, our temple, whatever word you want to call it.
Mm.
And that we just, as we get into this lifestyle, we just journey so far away from that. And it's so widely accepted and pushed to continually eat and drink. And the world, at least this North American culture, is based around fast pace,
Mm.
restaurants at every corner, um, encouraging even unhealthy body weights at this current time. And the issue is not about beauty. Everybody's beautiful in their own way, but people need to know that just because this is the trend, it's not healthy to, just to become, I don't even know how to put it into words. It's more of a feeling. I just know at the core that we're divine, that
Mm.
our bodies are so sacred, and that when we are constantly bombarding it with overindulgence, that we're just not able to live in our full power. And this, like I said, this North American philosophy and diet that everything has to be based around food, alcohol, just puts us further off course from that. And then people lose sight of that message and they think it's about, shaming them for their weight. It has nothing to do with that. It has the fact to do with we need to remove all that baggage we've accumulated to get back to ourself. And when we get back to ourself, then we could begin to address the root. But if we just keep overindulging and over ingesting, we're just getting further and further away and it's becoming harder and harder. That's how I see it.
What I hear you saying is sometimes the news, the philosophy, the society, what we've grown up seeing is not the truth and we need to challenge it. But you also say you can have weight issues coming from trauma and conditioning. Could you speak to that piece? Because that's not common knowledge. Like, how can my weight problems be as a result of childhood trauma? I feel that is not something that everybody knows. Would you like to speak
Right.
to that piece?
Mm-hmm. So I feel if, like we said a few minutes ago, to be alone with ourselves is very challenging because you can't run from yourself. So
Mm.
those traumatic issues or those feelings that we're trying to avoid, what I've observed is we're going to cope with them in some unhealthy way if we're not going to feel them. So people choose alcohol, like you've said, shopping, sex, drugs, food, you name it, gambling, social media. So I feel like the food in this culture is the only one of those that is quote unquote acceptable.
Mm.
So people are able to get, let's say, quote unquote, get away with it because it's been embraced as this is the norm now. So when people have the trauma, if they become an alcoholic or abuse drugs or those type of things, it's going to be shunned. They're going to have a lot much bigger consequences to face. So,
Mm.
but when they go to food, it's just people say, "Oh, it is what it is." So
Mm.
they stay stuck in that, and
Mm.
they think it's normal, but they never realize that they're actually addicted to something and running from the trauma.
Mm. That is so good. What you're saying is food can be an addiction.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, no one is going to shame you for eating. And so you can be driven by trauma and you can pile on weight because you're eating to cope. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, eating and smoking or using drugs or using sex are not the same, but yet it's the same concept. You're using
Yes.
that to run away from the trauma. But the problem is, everyone thinks food is normal. And when you go to the supermarket, everyone says, welcome. And when you're carrying food, people will help you carry the food. And when you go to the restaurant, they will feel like it's embraced, it's encouraged. I get it. And so it
Yeah.
can take a while to snap back and go, I actually have a food addiction. I'm using food to fill a void here. It can look like,
Mhm.
I'm having fun. I'm having Netflix, and Netflix comes with a bag of who knows what, and then who knows what's in the glass. It can be a lifestyle, especially when the money is not a problem. And you can very quickly get lost in that,
Mhm.
only to wake up one day and realize, oh my God, there's such a hole in my heart that I don't know how to fill. I like
Mhm.
that. I would love for
Mhm.
you, if you can, to scan through your life and kind of pick out the breadcrumbs which helped you reverse this. I know you've been like overweight. I've seen the pictures. Help me understand kind of what you believe you did to kind of move from that state of on the couch eating everything to now I'm actually like not doing that anymore. And I would love
Okay.
to help other people through my own ability to kind of walk through this life. Take us there and kind of get us some of the tangible things that we can begin to do now to kind of shift from there to like this time.
Okay. So I think what it was that I realized that at that weight,
Mm.
at that identity that I was living at, I felt powerless. So the food was my driving force. I couldn't think of much else except what am I going to eat? How much am I going to eat? Oh, now I ate too much. Oh, now I have shame. So it
Mm.
was constantly, my mind wasn't my own. It was being run based around food. And my energy was being zapped because of when you eat that much food to try to digest it and break it down, your energy is completely consumed to that. So I wasn't able to be as active and motivated with my children.
Mm.
Um, I just felt really like a sense of despair that I was going to stay stuck in this forever and out of control. And then I realized that the only way we're going to face the challenges of this world we all live in is to be in our strongest self, mentally and physically, which means we have to get to our ideal and healthy body weight to be able, because it's not just about how we look on the outside. Like I said, mind, body, spirit, you can't have one without the other. You're going to feel a void. So the best part of all of this fitness is the mental strength that I've achieved. Because when you go to the gym, it's a representation of facing a resistance. You have to face the resistance, and
Mm.
then you see a gain if you persist. And that's like in life. When we show up and we face things, on the other side of that comes new levels and new strengths. So
Mm.
it's really just all, all a full circle.
Mm. What I'm picking a few things. And so I'm going to read them for you so you can kind of see how I'm listening, what I'm picking, and you can tell me what I've left out. The first thing I pick
Mhm.
up is get your power back. You've handed your power over to something and you need to get it back. But you won't get it back if you do not know who is holding the microphone, who is holding the
Mhm.
steering wheel of your life right now. In Amber's case, it was food. In your case, it may be different. Have you consumed your life and poured everything you have in your children that if they decided to leave you today, you'd be dead because you have no other identity? This is why when women become empty nesters, they have a problem because some women really are like just give their life to their children and they decide everything around them is for the children. So the first thing is take your power back. But you won't take your power back if you do not know who is having the power. You've given away your power to something and we need to find it. What is that coping mechanism? Is it food? Is it sex? Is it children? Is it wine? What is it that you're doing to cope with the void on the inside? And the third one I had, and you can tell me which one is not what he meant. Like, what do you want? What type of life do you want? It's like going in an Uber without a GPS. Like, how does that work? The Uber may get there eventually, but you may take forever. But what if you had a pin and the place where you were going and you could put that in the GPS? How much easier then would that Uber driver get you that? I think that's what I had. Like, what do you want? But also it helps to know, like, where are you right now? I am here and I want this. So I am here in this place, I'm eating, I am doing this, but I want to be here. I don't like the woman in the mirror, and now I want to change that woman. So I want this woman who looks like whatever the thing you want. And then what I had is, what can you do right now? For Amber, she realized she could change her body. She go to the gym. She could do something to change her body. And that process opened up the door for more in that direction. So what did I miss there that you feel is a very key ingredient? What did I put there that you feel needs to be replaced by something? Because I want people to kind of see your thought process on how you can begin to change from that couch, coiled on the couch, eating forever, to saying, I'm owning my life and I'm going after my kids. What did I miss there? Like, you think needs to be there?
I think it's so brilliant what you just said, how you summarized all the feelings I've been living. You put it amazingly into words, so thank you. The fact that you said we have to find out who has the power, that's exactly how I feel. I just wasn't able to come up with my own words. And I left out exactly what you said is women identify as being mothers or as wives. And at the end of the day, when those kids are gone, we're going to be an empty nester or we're going to feel empty because that's all we've ever lived for. And that was me as well. And that was one of the defining moments when I realized my kids were starting to get older and not needing me as much. For the first 5 years of their life, it was pregnancy after pregnancy, breastfeeding on demand, co-sleeping. So I didn't even have time to think about who Amber was. And I was so blessed to live that. But that is only, there's just a time for that. And then you have to find yourself again. And I just feel like that was the major defining moment. I never didn't want to be a mother who resented their children when they wanted to spread their wings. I wanted to be cheering them on and be excited to live my own life independently as I cheered them on when that time came. So that really, I'm getting goosebumps because that really was hand in hand with the rest that I've shared. So thank you for sparking that memory. But to reply to your question, what more specifically are you looking for?
What do you feel needs to be added to what we have covered that is so important in helping people move from that place where they are absorbed by something, the place where they and say, I can't wait for my kids to get out because I've got a life. Like, man, I cannot wait to enjoy my life when the kids are in boarding school or whatever. Instead of saying, oh my God, my children can't do. Even when your son gets married, you're still following them up every day, demanding that they talk to you, which is really a sign that your life was thrown in the back burner, in the boot, and maybe it's time to get it back. That's how I look at it. Like, you can't throw your life in the boot and expect your children to, to help you feel valid for the rest of your life, because sometimes you'll be met by a surprise. And so how do we prepare for whether that's the children are going to boarding school or they've married or whatever the thing is there, like most people, if their partner woke up dead, then they would wake up to a different realization. And what if we didn't have to wait for that moment to wake up? What if we could just back up anyway, and don't just be prepared for life, you know. What did you
Right.
add there in helping us snap out of the place where we're so comfortable that all these uncomfortable things we are driving around them and we don't want to just go through them because they just take away the safety or whatever it is we are
Right.
doing. Mm.
Well, what helped me is I feel like if you just
Mm.
visualize,
Yeah.
visualize what the rest of your life would look like, own it, feel it.
Mm.
So, for example, when the kids do leave or your husband leaves, or it's just you now alone in an empty house, how
Mm.
is that going to feel? How is that going to sit? And I can feel goosebumps and pain when I think of that if I went back to my old identity, because it's very lonely. And do you want to spend the rest of your life like that? And so many people think, at 40 or at 50, that's it for us. Our life is over, and we're taught that. So we just let ourselves slowly deteriorate. But
Mm.
there's so much more. We can be thriving for our entire life. So we have to visualize, what is our life going to look like when they do leave? Or what do you want? What inspires you? What are you passionate about? What are all those things that when you think of them, they light you up? Go out and do them. Start co-creating and start somewhere.
Mm. Love it. I love it. Get your power
Mm.
back. Who has the microphone, grab it back. Don't let anyone be driving the car when you're in the car. Stop driving. But
Mhm.
really specify, really get aware, like, so what's my coping mechanism? And I think the other thing Amber said is replace that with something more empowering. So if your default
Mhm.
is get on the couch, eat and drink, maybe think about let me walk it in the wilderness, which is the tools that Amber right now holds that she gives those that come along because she's doing like mentoring right now where she kind of gets people in and holds them by the hand and kind of helps them through the steps she's been able to go through at this point. And so now there's tools like, okay, you want to take another sip of wine. Okay, what if you stop? And instead made with green tea or whatever the substitute is, which may give you the same result, but it doesn't have to be that. But it's really like very important to kind of reach a pace and go, okay, the life I have now, if I don't change anything, what would that be 10 years later?
Mhm.
You like what you see? If you don't, maybe then this work is worth it. If you place yourself 20 years from now, would you be comfortable where you are? That question is either yes, I'm excited, or oh my God, please don't take me there. And if the answer is don't take me there, then Amber's inspirational stories or journey could have something to do with it. What can you do right now? Where can you start? What are the little things that you can start doing? Who were you before you got engulfed in all of these things? What were your dreams? What did you like? What are the things that you liked before you got married? Let's get there. Like before you got married, what were the things that you did as a human being? Where did those things go? In the trunk? It's never too late to step in and live your life and have everyone else. Amber, tell me about your mentorship and how you support people today. I know you don't have like group programs and all of that, but take me to a place where you actually help people and support people, which I see as mentorship right now, personally. But take me there and kind of give me an idea of how you support people right now as you're also like sharing and evolving and seeing your own life before you.
Mhm. I just feel like showing up in presence, authentic presence with them, whether it's through what I share or in a coaching call, just to hold space, to ask the right questions, and that they're the expert in their own life. I'm just there
Mm.
to, in my empathetic and presence. As we, hold that space, they usually tend to uncover their own answers. You ask the questions that they've never thought of before.
Mm.
Similar to what we've experienced in this call, you triggered many things and you become the expert and you answer your own questions because we all have those answers inside. It's just, are we daring enough to look?
Mm.
So just really holding that space and allowing them to be the master in their own life.
That reminds me of a mentor of mine. I've heard him for what now, like 10 years. And he's never told me anything new. Every time I go to him, he's always asked me a question. And in that question, I always answer all my questions. Like I always answer all my problems. Like, oh, okay, that's interesting. What about? And I'm like, oh my God. And then I go. Like it's been like that for 15 years. He's never tried to give me an answer. He's never tried. He just say, what's the question? Oh, okay. I wonder if. And then he would ask another question. I'd be like, oh my God, that's it. You know? Like we have the answers within us. Sometimes we need somebody else to help us get there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
also, are we daring enough to be courageous and kind of go and get the answers? Like, are we able to step up and say, okay, I would love to get there and have somebody kind of challenge us and ask us and take us there until we find the answers? I think that Amber's work or the work she's wanting to bring to this universe is you have to be ready for it. You have to be open. You have to be at a point where you believe there's more than something else and you're ready for it. This brings me to the question, Amber. Who is the perfect person for the work you do? I know that you work with your body, mind, soul, but I know that you don't work with everyone or your message is not for everyone. So could you help us understand who your message is for?
So I feel like my message is really for anyone that it resonates with. I feel like when you hear it, that person's going to intuitively know we'll have a connect, like an energetic connection. But I feel like they have to have, like we've said, come to that place of despair in the sense of what there has to be more, and I don't want to live this way forever. So they haven't quite reached the turning point, but they're at that cusp of, like the fork in the road. Where do I go now? They've come to the fork, and now it's their choice to which path do I take. I feel like people at that space.
You've chased the success, you've chased the children, the marriage, the house, the kids, whatever the thing is, the family, maybe even the followers. Who knows? People buy followers. I don't know how that works, and people buy followers. You've chased it all, you've experienced it, and now you're like, I actually don't like where this has landed me, and I am looking and often for other ways of looking like success. You feel like you have the success, and you feel like this is not it. Like you don't feel like it's enough, and you're like, what else is that? How else could I look at this? Because I feel like materially I could just retire today. But I feel like if I was to die today, that wouldn't be the life, you know? I think it's
Mm-hmm.
the definition of a life well lived,
Mm-hmm.
which is different for everyone. Do you feel like your life is a life well lived? If the answer is yes, you don't need Amber. If the answer is no, Amber has a message for you. There is a way to get back, step into your own life, get the drivers, whatever, get the steering wheel and start driving. I think Amber's message is never too late to get in the driver's seat of your life.
Mm.
I think that's the message there. Amber, we're winding up. If I was like, I love Amber, I'd love to follow her, I'd love to check out what she has to offer. What should they do to move forward? Do you have anything for them?
Can you explain that a little bit more? What do you mean? What should they do to move forward?
So if they were thinking about, oh, I would love to see what her like one-on-one looks like, or I would love to
Mm.
see what working with her looks like, or even I would like to follow you on social media and get in your world and take more. What is it that I should do to
Mm.
that journey?
So I would say the first step is to follow me. I'm on both Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, I seem to have a stronger following, like more of a community, but I'm hoping to get the same for Facebook. I'm really open to sharing wherever my messages can be, sent out. And then I say, feel free to send me a personal message. That's basically the way I'm communicating right now, through Facebook or Instagram messaging. I'm open to questions, or more, if they're interested in more information, I'm happy to receive those messages.
I love Amber's message because Amber, I don't think she's at the guru stage. I love Amber where she is because she's accessible. She is living. She's closer to the place where most of us would be. Sometimes I personally buy from people who are closer to me than I'm not super excited at a 10-figure person right now because they probably don't speak my language. I like someone who's done what I've done, but they're not too far away that I can't access them, if it makes sense. And so I personally love that I can touch your shoulder, I can ask you a question, I can get access and time for my personal transformation. And I feel like Amber is in that place where she's giving one-on-one, she's giving time, she's giving a hand holding, like she's reaching out and giving people a hand. I feel like now with how you get custom. And so I love this place where she is because it's, for me, it's the most helpful place that an expert can be, where I can access them and touch their shoulder and ask them a question which is specific to me. For me, when I go to bigger programs, I get lost because I don't like being a number in a program. Doesn't matter how successful you are. The moment I can't ask you a question, you just lost me as a because I don't know how to survive without asking. And I feel like Amber is somebody who would give that. What are you struggling with? What does your situation look like? Where do we start? I feel like she's the kind of person who she's in a place where everything can be custom to you, the journey where you're at, which is really the beauty of, for me, where I think she is right now. And not the guru stage where you have to be number 1,000 in the program. I don't know, maybe it works for some people. It just never works for me. And so when I meet an expert who gives access, who has some level of access to their work, I love that because it's been, for me, what has helped me as a human being. So if you're going, I love Amber, I'd like to tag along. Everything will be in the show notes. Just scroll through the show notes and you should see the various ways how you can get into investment. Amber, we're winding up. What would be your final words for the listener?
So I just hope that I could be an inspiration and a listening ear, and hold the empathetic space for you. And please feel free to reach out, and we can journey together as we uncover more truths. And you're never alone. We're all in it together, and we just got to keep showing up and keep claiming it. And thank you so much, Prima. You're brilliant. And I'm leaving this call better than I was when I started it. More clarity. And that's it. I'm really grateful, and I'm really excited to continue the day and sending out light and love to everyone, and more good things to come.
Thank you, Amber. It's gotten me goosebumps when you say I'm leaving this call with more clarity, because that is big for me. And to you who is listening, there is one premise of this podcast, and that is, if you feel like someone's message inspired you, helped you move in a certain direction, helped you realize something about yourself, that means another person can get something. So there is one thing that I always ask at the end of every call, and this is, if you know someone that could use Amber's message, please pause and share this with them. This one person is all you need. Amber is for someone who feels like they have the success. Traditionally, they're successful, but internally they have a void. But I do not know if there is a way you can tell, because most of the people in this state, they look like they have it together. But some of the ways you can begin to look is like maybe they've been on like various diets to lose weight. Maybe they lose weight and they put it on again. There is a way that you can tell if you're close enough to someone that even though they are successful, there may be something that is off. Maybe they are really like angry. Maybe they really like scream at people. There's a way to tell when somebody is not, I don't know, when the inside does not match what you say. Like you go to someone's house and they look very, very successful and they have everything. But before you leave, you start to feel like they could be unhappy. Does that make sense? So if you know someone that is like that could use this message, the best thing you can do for me and for Amber is to share this interview with them and allow them to listen to her story and allow them to go through this. And maybe by the end of it, they will see if they have, like there is always an answer, but some people do not know that the answer exists until you land on this podcast and you share the episode. They made even this stuck in, maybe I am overweight and so I am going to go and I don't know, do what and what. But really the problem is they feel empty. They've lost touch with their divine sense. They've lost touch with why they're on this planet to start with. And they have that sense of, they have a void because what they're doing is not what they are on this planet to do in the first place. There is a calling on their life. And because they've moved around life avoiding that calling, they feel a void inside them. Because their life is more than just being a mom. It's more than just being a wife. It's more than just being whatever the community or society thinks they are. So the best thing you can do is share this message with them so they can watch it. Of course, rate, review, follow, subscribe, and all of the amazing things, because these things really help more than you think they do. The bigger the community, the taller my heart. The bigger the community, the bigger the guests I can bring on. One day I'd like to bring Oprah on, but Oprah will ask me a question, Prima, how big is the community? And I want to be able to look at her in the face and say 20 million people. And Oprah will have no problem coming on if there's 20 million people. So that is the power you can give me when you subscribe or follow or rate or do any of those things. You give me the power to get in rooms where I, Prima from Africa, Uganda, really, I wouldn't ever step in those rooms. You give me the power to bring guests and bring them here, because there is something for them. There is a community. There is people that need their message. And so I can use that to bring them. Other than that, I appreciate you. I wish that you share this episode, and I will see you in another episode. It's my sincere hope that you got something out of Amber's interview and that we didn't leave you the way we found. Thank you for today. Have a good day. That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the World's Best Kept Secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.